session of this 2-day session. Such occasions hold immense value when gender diversity and inclusiveness are not merely buzzwords, they are imperative for the success of our collective human endeavors. Throughout this seminar, we will delve deeper into the facts and figures that indicate our significant presence of the women at the places that matter, at the positions that matter. In conclusion, I want to emphasize that today's gathering goes beyond being just a seminar. It marks a significant step towards a more inclusive and equitable future for business and industry. On this journey with all these charming women who are at the board, and we are confident that the knowledge and inspiration you gain here will have a lasting impact beyond these walls. Thank you all for being part of this essential conversation.
One of the prominent challenges which I suppose that women are facing is the gender bias and the stereotypes that actually persists in the workplaces. Despite the growth in gender equality, the gender roles and expectations which actually make it harder for a woman to that we are going through such challenges. But this is the true fact, this is the actual fact which women are actually facing. And this can actually lead to the unintentional discrimination and result into poor decision making. There are many more other challenges which women used to face, like lack of flexibility of timings or other systems in workplaces, and whereby women have to leave their job. A person like this has also faced such challenges. This is unconscious bias. This is the example. So these incidents actually depicts the stereotype thinking and expectations from the women leaders. They have to struggle in their home as well as at their workplaces. So the only way to create the parity in gender diverse equation, we need to build good infrastructure for women female workers.
Hi everyone, I'm Pragya, as ma'am kindly introduced me. You guys heard about my work experience, so I would like to first of all thank Dr. Payal, Navdeep ma'am for having me here. I was a bit nervous about coming here because I was like, I'm too young for this, there's going to be so many senior women leaders, I'm not sure if I should be here. But Dr. Payal encouraged me. My speech is going to be a little bit more. So I started off working with high school students who wanted to go to top universities and needed help with nurturing their profile, finding their interests, writing college application essays, and then of course interviewing to finally get that spot. I was enjoying it. I still do. I think the work is very rewarding, but not challenging enough. So that's when I sort of switched into a more business role. I started working as a client advisor, as Ma'am mentioned, which is primarily a sales, relationship-driven role. Both go hand in hand, but I think especially for like female leaders in leadership positions in any sector or any organization, there's that added layer of sensitivity in my own leadership experience also. So anyhow, I was working there and then I moved to India and I wanted to work in the startup world.
Let your go on for a day. Bible I was so delighted to listen to these two girls, Mr. Da and Miss Sethi. Actually, both spoke in excellent. And I was just looking into myself. We have planned a meeting of daily officers, MBAs and police officers, professors, principals. some time back. So that couldn't mature because of my other activities. Today, I'm happy that our principal, Dr. Deep Kaur, and the person from Delhi of the Women Conference, they have jointly arranged to meet you here in our college, in small college, which is only for commerce.
I welcome worthy resource person and participants to the technical session 2. It's a pleasure to have Dr. Jaswal Singh, Professor, University School of Financial Studies, Guru Nanak Dev University, as our session chair for technical session 2. Dr. Jaswal has over 28 years of teaching and research experience. He is presently member of editorial board and reviewer of couple of national and international journals. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. I would request Dr. Payal, convener of the seminar, to welcome our worthy resource person representing a bouquet. Thank you. We request Mrs. Jaskiranjit Kaur, Vice Principal, Head of Department of Commerce, to kindly join for the welcome. Now, we shall begin with the technical session 2. The technical session 2 for NCW seminar, dated 9 November 2023. First paper is by Ms. Sukhjinder Kaur, Assistant Professor in Commerce, Guru Nanak Dev University College, Sujanpur. The paper is titled as Gender Diversity and Insight into the Implementation Status of Indian IT Sector. I would request Ms. Sukhjinder Kaur to please come on the class. Thank you. Participants are intimated that the presentation time for each presentation is 10 to 12 minutes at maximum. Kindly confine your presentation within that time period. Further, resource person is requested to kindly select one best paper out of this technical session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Sukhjinder, from Department of Commerce, Guru Nanak Dev University College, Sujanpur. Today, I am going to present on the topic Gender Diversity and Insight into the Implementation Status of Indian IT Sector. Gender diversity have become the key factor of hiring and all other HR policies to create safe and comfortable workplace for women. Several countries have introduced quotas to increase women participation on the board, particularly European Union quota, according to which by 2020 at least 40% of the non-executive directors of publicly traded European companies should be women. No country has been able to achieve the target of complete gender equality yet, but Iceland 88%, Norway 84.2%, Finland 83.2%, Sweden 82%, and Nicaragua 80% are closest to achieve gender equality at workplace. and this information is according to the Global Gender Gap Report 2020. India is one of the emerging markets to embrace gender quotas. The 2013 Companies Act made it compulsory for all publicly listed firms to have at least one women director. The global recognition of women's empowerment has raised awareness of the significant role of women in several domains throughout the last few decades. Corporate boardrooms are not exempt from this phenomena. The inclusion of women directors on corporate boards signifies the presence of gender diversity. So literature evidence that gender diverse boards provide multitude of benefits to organizations attempting to achieve competitive advantage by delivering innovation, creativity, increased social sensitivity while solving problems, leading to higher quality decisions, which in turn leads to superior firm performance. Gender diversity and Indian corporate sector. In terms of institutional context, countries such as India exhibit notable distinctions from industrialized nations, and these disparities mostly arise from the presence of unstable legal institutions, inefficient markets, dominant ownership, and significant political engagements. And additionally, it is worth noting that the visions of the Indian enterprises are mostly rooted in familial ties, with a significant majority of them being under the ownership of promoters. Their limits pertaining to corporate governance encountered by Indian enterprise exhibit distinct characteristics when compared to those experienced by firms in industrialized countries. So as far as IT sector is concerned, IT sector is predictor of proportion of women on corporate boards, maybe because the sector offers them a great autonomy over their schedules throughout online projects or home-based tasks, and enable them to perform the dual roles of professional and homemaker simultaneously. Thus, it would be interesting to investigate the status of gender diversity in the context of IT firms. The objective of the study is, this study has made an effort to swoop into the actual board composition of the Indian IT sector in order to determine the effectiveness of the various mandates and regulations put forth by the legislature to promote gender diversity on corporate boards. So the research methodology, this study used secondary data to draw some meaningful conclusions about the current status of the Security Exchange Board of India's initiative to enhance women participation in the Indian boardrooms. The sample of the current study is 176 IT companies listed on Bombay Stock Exchange, and the period of study relates is from 1st April 2011 to 31st March 2022. The data pertaining to exact number of women directors was extracted from the corporate governance section of annual report that was downloaded individually for each company over a period of 12 years. Descriptive statistics and frequency distributions will provide insight into the extent to which Indian corporations have incorporated regulatory requirements into their governance structure. Table 1 shows the presence of women directors on Indian IT boards. For the purpose of our analysis, we have considered presence of women director as a boundary variable, wherein if a woman is present on the corporate boards across the firm years, the value is taken as 1 and 0 otherwise. Table 2 shows the frequency table of number of women directors on board. According to this table, provides deep insight into the number of women directors on the sample firms' boards, highlighting the fact that despite the amendments and prior evidence that women help improving firm performance, female representation on these boards has not been substantial. This table shows that maximum number of women present on any board is pegged at 4, and while the minimum being 0. However, what is interesting observable is that maximum sample formulation commitment to fairness and non-discriminatory practices.
It was very interesting topic that you have presented here right now. Is it part of your research work?
Yes.
Because as you are referring it, the Indian concerns, the majority of them, they are more of a family concerns. What do you think if we have a woman director as part of the board? Will they be that active and fruitful in decision making for that purpose?
So as per our study that the attitude, behavior and the decision-making perspective of the women is different from the men. According to the literature, there is a multitude of benefits. As one of my slides shows the multitude of benefits. And according to the literature, there are multitude, creativity, innovativeness. But the women should have voice in the board. And that voice can not be by incorporating a single woman on the board, but if there are majority of three, or researchers show that if there are three or more women, then they can have their voice in the board.
Would you think there should be some method or procedure of recruiting them on the board? Because for a family concern, they will have members of the family, be it female or male.
Yes, sir. These numbers as a woman. But in 2017, now they have adopted a practice. Government of India and Companies Act have recently announced that there should be independent women in the board. Independent women means they don't have any family ties, and they are trying to incorporate and they are implementing certain regulations that they can have say on the board, and the women should not be from the family background. But I think it is a long journey and it would take much time.
Clarify a point first here that I don't know how, but that title, the work of my paper, does not fit into the word corporate role. So my idea of taking this paper, of doing this study, was twofold objective. One, I wanted to start with qualitative research. This is my first attempt at that, wherein I had taken a sample of 10 women and interviewed them on a personal basis. And the results and outcomes I'll be sharing with all of you in a couple of minutes. The second was that before we come to the point of discussion where role of women in corporate sector, which means stepping out of the house, I thought maybe we would like to have a thought about it. How do we look at women in decision making and in other ways within the family, within the house? Right, so an empowered woman at home is certainly an empowered woman outside the house. So taking it forward, I would like to know the opinion of the audience here that if I say that there is an unequal distribution of power between men and women, where men stand to gain at a lot of positions, how many of you would agree to this in our society? I repeat, there is unequal distribution of power between men and women in certain aspects in our society. So if I ask all present here, how many of you agree to this, that men stand to gain in terms of power? Can I have a few more responses? Alright, thank you. So I believe a few of us do agree to this. Right, so this says that we come from a society which is patriarchal. And sadly, even today we are discussing something called women empowerment, women trying to fight into a position to get at par with men. And I chose to work on Sikh perspective because the teachings of Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji that I have read, that I have come across till this age of mine, nowhere it is said that there is anything which a woman cannot do which a man should do, or which a man is allowed to do. So I thought maybe let me explore, let me look into it, how the followers of this religion, the text of Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, look at gender and how they understand. So, can we move to the next slide, please? Now, the patriarchy, if I define it, the Royal Academy of the Spanish Language Dictionary provides or defines patriarchy as a primitive social organization in which authority is exercised by a male head of the family, extending this power even to distant relatives of the same lineage. As an ideology, patriarchy is a set of symbols and ideas that make up a culture embodied by everything from the content of everyday conversation to literature and film. And as I've already said, a lot of us agree that men stand to gain out of this thought process, out of this ideology. Previous researchers have proved that most Punjabi families, coming to what is happening in the Sikh domain, in the Punjabi families, have patriarchal systems. And I've quoted research work of previous authors. And as a result, the father enjoys the right to take decisions for the family and exercises his control on all the family members, and their female counterparts' roles is restricted to performing household chores. these are not my words, these are words which are proven by previous research. You might find something which is controversial, so kindly excuse me for that. Due to such diverse power control in the hands of men and women, men who exercise greater degree of control are able to surpass women in performing ancestral rituals and other things. Women in Punjabi families are burdened with the obligation to maintain families' respect in society, uphold family honor, and never bring shame in the name of the family. This is the work of Mr. Nair, 2004. Hence, the flag of Satkar, respect, Izzat, which is family honor, and Sharam, which is the face value, is to be held high by women in Punjabi families. And I would like to say here that it's not just the Punjabi families, but families in general across all belts that I've spoken to women from. My methodology of this work was, it is a qualitative research design. I interviewed at least 10 women, that was my target, and I tried to interview more women, but somehow there was less of time available, so I could not. And all the women that I interviewed come from Sikh community and living in Punjab. Participants were approached through the snowball sampling technique, and they were duly informed about the purpose of my study. The criteria of selection. The women had to be born or married into a Sikh family. They could be unmarried, married, or separated, divorced. They had to be Indian citizens, and they were living in Punjab at the time when these interviews were conducted with them. Once I was able to identify my respondents, interviews were scheduled with them at a time which was mutually convenient for me and for them. It was, however, preferred if respondents could either give time when they were alone or were out of their homes to avoid any kind of disturbance or external influence in answering my questions. They were informed about the purpose of the study, and any queries which they had about my work or about the objective was duly answered. The data collection. Data was collected, as I said, through personal interviews, and every interview that I took lasted about maximum to a 40-45 minute strength, and all interviews were audible when the interviews were conducted. The interviews were recorded either through a Zoom meeting or telephonically. So these are the demographics of my respondents. The age dispersion here shows that my respondents are from the age of early 30s to up to 70. That's the age dispersion. Can we move to the next slide, please? So, looking at the educational background of my respondents, all of them had at least done their class 10, and some of them were postgraduate. In terms of occupation, there's a varied occupational dispersion that I saw here. There were women who were housewives. I had a respondent who was a school principal. There was a lady who was working in corporate sector, a bank officer. Primary school teachers were also included as my respondents. The income class that they belonged to were from middle income, higher income, and upper middle class. Alright, so since my work was about Sikh perspective, so I did ask them that are you Amritdhari or not, have you taken the initiation? So this is the result that I had. 3 respondents had taken the Amrit, and 2 number of respondents said that they were planning to take Amrit in the times to come, in a couple of years from now. All 3 women who were Amritdhari were found to be strongly religiously oriented and emphasized that they do follow the daily ritual practice of Nidhi. When asked about their spouses, whether they have also taken Amrit or not, 2 out of the 3 Amritdhari women respondents said that their husbands are also Amritdhari. 1 reported that his husband is not Amritdhari, and the remaining 7 respondents who were themselves not Amritdhari were not married to men who had taken the Amrit. This is the table which shows the demographics in one shot. To maintain the secrecy of the respondents, their names have been has been held back, and I've used the lettering from A to J. So my key finding to women respondents from Sikh family were either
Because when you
born
started with the paper, it was you're referring to Punjabi word. That's the base you build over. You talk about patriarchy in Punjabi families.
Yes.
That's what we're talking.
Yes.
When I say Punjabi, Punjab, obviously we include different religions.
Yes.
Sikh is also. Then you go to second. Do you think this sample is a representative?
No, of course it is not a representative.
It's not a representative.
Yes, sir. But as I
That
said,
means whatever I'm doing, the results cannot be generalized.
no, of course it cannot be generalized. Yes.
When we cannot generalize the results, then we cannot standardize them also. And same thing, you are accepting that the respondents themselves affirm that their children may not go for a partner in the same religion.
Yes, sir.
So what's the sense of then getting of this result or doing this study?
Alright, so as I said that this is my first attempt at a qualitative paper which I have always wanted to do. And this was one opportunity which I thought that I could start my work in that.
I'm not discouraging you, it's obviously because you have come for presenting your paper at a seminar here.
Yes.
You have to talk about this too.
Yes.
There are clearly certain flaws that we have to cover up in your next study.
Yes.
Do continue, I suppose you. But be very particular whenever we build something, then it should be on a logical base somewhere. Other thing you are saying that Dr. Abdul Kalam said, who was ruling the, you said girls.
This is what Dr. Abdul Kalam said.
Okay, I think that. You also said that they are the opinion leaders.
I said
Obviously, influencers are opinion leaders.
yes, opinion leaders. Yes. We tend to follow them.
And you say the impact increases many folds when it's a woman.
Yes.
In the study.
Because the followers are more.
After 2018 also, more of the purchase that has been reported influenced by the women influences.
Yes.
What do you say about it now? Is it whatever is being done by them is ethical?
Ethical?
Yes.
No, I think like every coin has both sides to it. There are some flip sides to it as well, because you know the kind of messages that they are promoting, and it's too much about lifestyle and fashion and the right kind of and the wrong kind of things which they are projecting, that is having a very negative impact as well. Yes.
I read it somewhere when I say for example, Deepika.
मंच पे बैठे मानयोग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ਅਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਟੀਚਰ ਸਾਹਿਬਾਨ ਤੇ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀ ਸਾਹਿਬਾਨ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। ਸੋ ਜੋ ਮੇਰਾ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਟੌਪਿਕ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੁਝ ਕੋਟੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ। ਮੈਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ B.R. ਅੰਬੇਦਕਰ ਦੇ I measure the progress of a community with the degree of progress women have achieved. Next please. The purpose of education. The purpose of education is to moralize and socialize the people. Next please. What about the next 2020? New education policy is a national education policy. Okay, next. Yes, some articles on new education policy, but social media ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਗਲਤ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ, ਸੋ official documents ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੋਕਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। Next one. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੌਣ ਕੌਣ ਜਾਣਦਾ? ਨਾਮ ਦੱਸਿਓ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਲੀਜ਼, ਦੋਨੋਂ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ। Anyone?
Not getting the name.
So, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਦੌਲਤ ਹੀ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੋ। ਸਾਵਿਤਰੀ-ਬਾਈ ਫੂਲੇ ਤੇ ਫਾਤਿਮਾ ਸ਼ੇਖ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਭਾਰਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਖੋਲ੍ਹੇ ਕਿਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ? ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਓਕੇ, ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸੈਮੀਨਾਰ ਦਾ ਟੌਪਿਕ ਹੈ ਵੂਮਨ ਇਨ ਡਿਸੀਜਨ ਮੇਕਿੰਗ ਰੋਲਸ ਇਨ ਕੋਆਪਰੇਟ ਸੈਕਟਰ। ਕੋਆਪਰੇਟ ਸੈਕਟਰ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਦੋਂ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਇੰਪਾਵਰ ਕਰੇਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਵੂਮਨ ਸਾਰੇ ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਰੋ ਕਰ ਸਕਣਗੇ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ? ਸੋ ਵਰਲਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਵੋਟਿੰਗ ਰਾਈਟ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਨੇ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ ਵੂਮਨਸ ਨੂੰ? ਐਨੀਬਡੀ ਨੋਜ਼? ਦੇਖੋ ਦੀਆਂ ਵੂਮਨਸ ਬੈਠੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਸੋ ਇਟਸ ਨਿਊਜ਼ੀਲੈਂਡ। ਕਿਉਂ? 1893 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਿਊਜ਼ੀਲੈਂਡ ਦਾ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਸੀ।
विनय कुमार विनय जी ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਹੁਣ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਰਿਗਾਰਡਿੰਗ NEP 2020 ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਮੈਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੀ ਸੋਚ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ NEP ਤਾਂ 2020 ਵਿੱਚ ਆਈ ਹੈ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ 5 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਕੀਤੀ। NEP introduced whether you said attitude and then you said belief system. ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਕਲੈਰਿਟੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਈ ਕਿ fault is where, is it with belief and attitude part or is policy and policy implementation ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ?
Sir, according to my theoretical perspective, जिन्ना मैं go through आया हूँ, कि मैनू लगता मैं जनरलाइज नहीं कर रहा कि एटीट्यूड एंड बिलीफ सिस्टम बेसिक नीड आ। स्कीम पॉलिसी का सारे कितने बनती है, आप देखते हैं डेवलप कंट्रीज से भी है, अंडर डेवलप से भी है, डेवलपिंग नेशन से है, पर जिथे जिथे लोगों का एटीट्यूड एंड बिलीफ सिस्टम ज़्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग है, उत्थे उत्थे सक्सेसफुल ज़्यादा देख लो है। यूरोप में देख लो, फिनलैंड देख लो, स्वीडन देख लो, इतने मैन एंड वुमेन की ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫੁੱਲ ਫਿਲਮਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹਾਈਅਰ ਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਮੈਂ
ਪਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਨਾ, ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਝ ਨਾਂ ਲੈ ਲਵਾਂ, ICICI ਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਲੁਧਿਆਣੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਕਵਰੇਜ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਇੰਸਪੈਕਟਰ ਸ਼ੀ ਬਿਲਡ ਦੈਟ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਫਸਟ ਬ੍ਰਾਂਡ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਕਿਰਨ ਮਜੂਮਦਾਰ ਸੀ, ਸੋ ਮੈਨੀ ਨੇਮਸ ਆਈ ਕੈਨ ਟੇਕ। ਇੱਕ ਐਸੇ ਹੀ ਬਲੀਫ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਤੋਂ ਹੋਏ ਕਿ they grow up to the top.
Yes.
That means this personal initiative is also important.
Yes, I am agree. बिल्कुल सही कहा।
So we cannot simply generalize कि ये policy implement नहीं हो रही ठीक, कि यहाँ साड़ा सिर्फ belief system ठीक नहीं है।
Sir, हमें balance.
This is what I expected.
Yes.
Ultimately, you should balance it out.
Yes.
कि किधर part होते कितना भी role play करेगा, we cannot simply say कि ये वाला unique है, ये वाला strong है।
Yes.
Right.
Managers for their households. The proportion of women holding professional investment position in financial industry has increased recently. Furthermore, a sizable portion of personal investments are made by women. Various scholars and financial experts have proposed that females are generally less inclined to take risks and prefer to invest their money more cautiously than males. Investment in riskier and high returning investments are made by males more frequently than by females, according to McDonald's. Women's preference for safety and aversion for taking chances are the primary reasons why they don't make investment decisions. Reliance on family and friends in various researches are here. Tuseja has conducted a research involving 100 married working women in 3 small Indian cities around Bombay. He has discovered that 75% of the female have personal investments.
This picture also. Indian women participation in economic front is still small, which is evident from World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Report. As per the report, female workforce participation has fallen from 30% in 1990 to 19% as of 2021, despite the equal educational attainments. Women drop out of the talent pipeline at mid to senior levels, and there are also authors who suggest that by different organizations, non-research articles in the form of magazine articles, blogs and interviews have been referred. The literature indicates that women leaders contribute significantly to the sustainability of the organization. For example, the characteristics of female leadership promote organizational productivity, collaboration, dedication, fairness, team performance. Then they are highly emotional intelligence, is used for managing the complex situations. But there are certain barriers also. These barriers are gender gap, lack of support at workplace, less flexible working schedule, pay gap, then organizational biases, underestimated gender bias, socio-cultural, personal factors, safety issues and so on. There are limitations also which lead at the family level. Generally, it is noticed that the parents bring toys like dolls, kitchen set for the female child, and puzzles and toys like beauty tube for the male child. Not only this, male child is pushed to study sciences and mathematics, whereas female for languages and social sciences.
According to the author Kaga, this bias then travels to when it comes to hiring the STEM workforce, men make more portion of the entire level job, and women do get hired. They face imposter syndrome. The STEM includes science stream, including mathematics, engineering, and technology stream. According to Aisha report 2020-21, indicate that 56.8% males and 43.2% female were enrolled in STEM at undergraduate, PG, MPhil and PhD levels. Here comes the role of the parents who can play significant roles for fostering the female child's ability to have aspirations and ambitions for leadership.
Of women leaders, pre and post independent, there are. I was just taking on it that they also grow out of the similar circumstances in India. Over and if I say post and pre-independent times, rather law is more strict today than it was then. They could grow. One reason that generally we studying theory part also, they say leaders are born, not made. If we say we want to prepare next gen leaders, or we want to create that leadership skills into them, you would just refer it one more data about enrollment. You said 56% male and around 43-44% female. But that's what I was talking in some other presentation also. If I see back now, data what you are telling right now, I don't know what time you are referring there. But if we see the number of female students coming to educational institutions today, it's far more than the boy.
No, it is related to the STEM education, undergraduate, postgraduate, STEM.
STEM you're talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the sciences.
In the sciences. If I say medical sciences, then still the number is very high for the female. That's what we say. Okay, data could be like that is obviously for a study they conducted, they got the results, conclusions are there. But my point of view here is that it should be some inborn urge that we need. For a female to become a leader, that's inborn passion and inborn urge that we should have got. Like the one was referring about the value system and the belief system we are having, to be discouraged. But the situation is not that today. This data you are referring is 90 to 23 you referred. You said that female participation in workforce has gone down recently in 2021 from 1990 you referred. Very second slide.
1990 to 2021. 30% to 30%
30 to 90% now. Whereas we see around the number of female participants they are actually increasing. And I don't know what study you referred here.
ये मैंने वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम ग्लोबल जेंडर गैप रिपोर्ट के बेसिस पे जो किसी ऑथर ने ही रिपोर्ट किया उसके अकॉर्डिंग.
One thing that we should not forget, like you said, it's a report of a it may differ. Like if I talk about the Indian scenario today, more of the people you find in the workforce today. That means policies, whatever they make at international level or those agencies, we have to, what should I say, that should be suited, that we have to replan things, we have to make additions, deletions in those policies. Then we can implement. No doubt we are all for there, it should be there, gender biasness should not be there, gap should be cut down, I also agree with it. But that internal urge that is more important. That would be given by the family.
That is why I have included the family also, that the parents also required to ensure that the education of both is equally important.
That's coming up now. If we see around it in our families, if we see, we are giving equal opportunities to both male and female child. But that, what you are talking, obviously it is the family system that has to build. We have to inculcate that you should go ahead and build school.
बच्चे को शुरू से ये लास्ट ईयर एक बच्चा ही मेरे से शेयर कर रहा था एक इंसिडेंट मैं आपको बताती हूँ. कि बच्चा कहता है कि मैं लड़की की बात की है, कहती कि मेरा ब्रदर कुछ 5-6 बच्चों के साथ खेल रहा था, तो एक लड़के के पास रूबिक क्यूब था, तो लड़की ने बोला कि मैं सॉल्व कर, तो लड़का सेड कि नो यू कैन नॉट सॉल्व दिस, आई कैन सॉल्व दिस. So it means there is something like that we are not preparing our children that all are equal and all can do the same thing.
Because received notions they are still because they जा रहे हो काली बिल्ली रास्ता काट के जाओ है ना. These notions were still hanging on the net.
Yeah.
Which should have been left far off because we are talking of education, we are talking of growth and leadership. Is such. क्या पता था वो डिस्टर्ब नहीं.
बैठो बैठो यार.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, already forget the class.
इस बात करते थे तो तभी बहुत प्यार था. ठीक है ना. तो मंगल का तो ये तेरा ब्रदर नहीं है कहता. हाँ. You did that.
You the better than that.
So the topic on which I'm going to present is the rise of women influencers in digital era, impacting social influencer marketing. To start with my presentation, in the hope of the societal development, 2022 highlighted in the study theoretical and managerial implications for the social media influencer marketing context. Roberti has also studied, it gives an insight towards how female influencers exploit the spur to fulfill their marketing goals and turns into self-branding routes. As Sir was also inculcating that the influencer, the social influencers takes both the negative and positive aspect. So this study has revealed somewhat about some negativities also. Kadam, 2021, the objective is to analyze the link between the average consumer's trust in influencers and the resulting consumer behavior. So this gives us an insight towards the need of the social media and the influencers. Social media has broadly influenced in the interaction between the social relationships, both in terms of
one single post, they get very hefty amount by the companies. So we cannot expect it that whatever they are posting or what they are referring or supporting, that it's going to be ethically good for everybody.
So definitely, that is why I said that they are giving the both positive and negative aspects. So ultimate decision lies in the person itself.
My purpose is because if we are referring this part, this is one positive part we have covered.
Yes.
That we should cover that part also because to balance out the things, it should be for any audience because I'm taking one part of it. I won't have that much time. I'll go back and I'll search for the negative part also somewhere. You are already doing research on it. You could have added just that extra line into it. That will balance it out. We have to be balanced in our mind. We shouldn't follow blindly.
So that is what I've told in my conclusion as well. That there is a negative as well as positive. So we should go by our own perspective as well.
Recently, somebody referring like Virat Kohli for one single post on X, he gets 5 to 7 crore rupees.
Yes, sir.
And other actors they were talking 2 to 3 crore, 4 crore.
So they are getting huge
how much money they get.
Yes,
they don't mind it because they will not think into the good or bad of it.
Yes.
It's simply.
So it's their commercial. They are all commercial people. So they are getting these things, and it is our money only what they are getting. We are buying the products, and from that only all they are getting. The advertising agencies are paying them out of that only. The revenue which is generated that we are giving to the companies, from that only they are getting that. So while choosing the product, we need to be very, very specific. And okay, you are following any influencer, but follow your heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Creating is a good measure when the women are empowered. Purity with the stability is cured with the passage of time. The concept of women development gained the momentum and the share is considerable. Increase is the women on the business in the economy of almost all the nations. The increasing number of women's economy activities help them to become economically independent, raise their status in the security without taking women into the